Hey y'all, welcome back to the Don't Mom Alone podcast. I'm your host, Heather McFadden, and this is the place where I get to walk alongside you and connect you with people and resources so you know that you don't mom alone. And in this episode number 522, I am welcoming back to the show some of our OG guests, David Thomas and Sissy Goff.
I've lost count with how many parents I've had conversations with, Sissy. I likely suspect you have too, who've said, we were out of the habit of going to church, and dropping off at Sunday school feels overwhelming to him or her. And so we just kind of stopped. We tried it 2 or 3 times. It was so overwhelming. And I want to challenge those parents. Let's get back in the saddle and practice that. Drop off is great. Kids staying home with a babysitter while parents go on a date is awesome. Like, navigating the discomfort of all those moments is where these good things are built.
Kids learn that they're capable by experience.
Yes.
If you've been following along in the podcast for a while, then you know what a big fan I am of David Thomas and Sissy Goff. They are licensed professional counselors based out of Nashville, Tennessee, and they have been on the show more than anyone else has. They have their own podcast now called Raising Boys and Girls. I'm sure you've heard of it. And so today we are going to answer your questions, also talk through things like, how do we help our kids build resilience? How do we help introverted children with friendships? How can we help our kids be a good loser? And a little bit of understanding for your strong-willed child. And then we tackle, why are teen boys not taking risks? We get to all of that in this episode. And if you love the conversation, definitely check out the other times they've been on the show that are linked in the show notes. And their new children's books. They have been writing books for a long time with advice for us adults. Well, now they're taking that info into children's books, which we talk about in this episode. One is by David called Owen Learns He Has What It Takes, and then one by Sissy called Lucy Learns to Be Brave. And Owen and Lucy just happen to be dogs, which is a great way to get to kids' hearts and minds and teach them wonderful things. We'll talk about all of that in this episode. So let's get right to it. Here we go. Oh my goodness. It has been almost 4 years, but y'all are back. I know. The two of you together. Okay, I've had you I do that thing where I'm like, maybe we'll have a convo with David and a little convo with Sissy. But two of you together, almost 4 years.
Wow.
Except for Mexican food. We have gotten together since
I have
as
seen
friends.
you. Not everyone listening has been able to enjoy that, and they're so jealous. When I asked my listeners for questions, the first one was, can they be my best friends? So we're going to have to get necklaces for everyone, half hearts that we send out. It's going to have 3 hearts, okay? Because y'all are such a calming, wise, guiding voice for so many people. And now you have your own show and your so many books, but now a new fun project, which is children's books.
Yay!
Children's books with dogs. Because
how about that?
Right on brand. Okay.
Right on brand indeed.
Yes. Okay, but before we go any farther, I need to say, actually, David and I could say together, because we both feel this unequivocally. Is that the word, unequivocally?
Sure. I like it.
It's hard to say. That to date, the most conversations we have at our book tables when we travel and speak are about what podcast, David?
Don't Mom Alone. Always.
Yes.
Always.
The amount of people that come up to our table and say, oh, I discovered y'all from Don't Mom Alone.
We hear it all the time. What a gift that
has been to us. And you are to the world, Heather. We're so grateful for you, friend.
Well, they still let me go on the iTunes. I don't know how I haven't been banned at this point, but thank you all for trusting me then and continuing to come back. And here's the deal. You've been guiding us. I know, David, with my 4 boys, I sought out your wisdom when I was like, what the heck do I do? And then Sissy, just such graciousness as we walk through anxiety and all of that. But with this new project, it's really targeted to kids 4 to 7, which feels little. And so talk to us about, because this is what's so great about the two of you. You're still actively seeing clients, patients. I don't know. What do you say? Clients or patients? Children?
Clients.
Clients. Okay. Yeah. And so you're right in it. You have
your finger on the pulse of what's going on. And so why are you seeing this a need for younger kids?
Well, David and I, so we do, we do individual counseling with kids of all ages. We do some groups and we do what are called parent consults where parents are just saying, "Hey, is this normal? What's going on? What do I need to be thinking about here?" And we are seeing parents with younger and younger kids. And I will speak specifically for anxiety for a second that the average age of onset used to be 8. Now we're seeing it drop to 6 with signs as young as 4 and 5. And so it feels more important than ever because the earlier we can start to teach kids skills, the better off they're going to be for the long haul. And so we are so excited about this series of books that not only are talking in story form and of course through dogs because we love dogs, and there's specifically dogs that we've had on staff as therapy dogs at Daystar. And they are, telling how they work through these different issues, but also we have tools in every single book. And we have 2 that are coming out in May, but we have 2 more coming out next year. And so we're just talking to the issues we're kind of hearing about the most from parents of young kids and trying to put tools in their hands as early as we possibly can.
For the parent who has that 4 and 5-year-old, I'm doing the math based on what everybody was just saying, that the world shut down 5 years ago. Is there a correlation?
Oh, yes.
I mean, it's so hard to tease out, like, what did COVID do to our kids? But those were babies or, new babies in 2021. Are y'all seeing that connection?
Oh, absolutely. And think on, Heather, the first time we had a conversation culturally about the concerns we carried for kids academically. Like, okay, if they're not getting some of these foundational building blocks of reading on the front side, how's that going to affect these kids as high schoolers when it's time to take the ACT and the SAT? And that was an important conversation for us to be having. For us as therapists, we were every bit as concerned about kids emotionally and socially. If they're missing these foundational building blocks of their emotional development, how's that going to play out? And we're seeing all the evidence. In fact, I can remember the first time I did a parent consult with a family out of state, and they talked about having given birth to their son right before the pandemic really hit. And then as the world started to open up, the mom reported going to the park for the very first time. And she was like, it was this kind of overwhelming experience for both of us because I had never done this before. Obviously, as a parent, he'd never done it as a kid. And she kind of plopped him in the grass, and there were a couple of kids around him. And she went to go set down the diaper bag on a bench, and she heard this blood curdling scream. And she turned around like someone's been injured. And it was her son screaming. She ran to him to look, no cuts or bruises, but he's just wailing. And she realized someone had taken his toy, and he had never had that experience. She's like, he's an only child. My husband and I haven't been taking toys away from him. And so it was like a brand new experience of discomfort. We talk about how discomfort shows up in all moments of life for all of us. And he'd not had that experience. And what we learn in those different moments of how to negotiate and the art of what we call reciprocity, which is one of the social milestones, like all this give and take that happens in the context of relationship that kids are learning when they go to birthday parties and when they, even go
Music
to
class.
all these
Yes.
opportunities.
When my oldest, again, like the oldest, when my oldest hit a little kid on the head with a shaker, and the teacher looked at me and she's like, where did he learn that? And I'm like, I'm not hitting him on the head with shakers. This is just like his default reaction to someone coming to go take it. I mean, I totally agree. Like these are, and while they're uncomfortable as a parent to go through, it's even good to hear like this is very normal for them to be upset that their toy was taken. And it's actually good. This concept that it's a good thing our kids have uncomfortable emotions.
Yes.
Good and needed and necessary.
Can we free all the moms right now? Because honestly, I do think some of this issue with resiliency, which we're going to talk about too, but anxiety is us being too good at moms, quote unquote.
Yeah. Agreed.
Do you think?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
You want to talk about it more? Or you want to? I know you're trying to like not offend all the moms because they're your bread and butter, but
no. But I met with a couple yesterday, Heather, that they are so fearful. This mom in particular, she's so fearful that she's going to do the wrong thing, that she has so much rigidity in her parenting. And we talked over and over. I mean, she was so anxious, I could barely say much to her. She couldn't even hear me because she kept jumping to all of her failures. And I didn't want to pile on at all. But at the same time, one of the things in the research for anxiety that I came across is that anxiety in kids is often linked to a lack of parental warmth. And, this mom, I would say she is certainly a warm person, but she's so anxious and trying so hard to get it right that she can't access it. And she's trying so hard for her child to get everything right that everything has become about rules. And I kept saying, we got to think about connection more than connection more than correction. She needs wins. And I think, if what we're talking about, I mean, the thing I'm seeing the most with and hearing the most about from parents of girls is control, that kids are wanting to be in control so desperately. And they were back to the pandemic. We all were.
Or perceived.
Right, perceived,
and
exactly.
our environments became very, very small.
Yes,
and in that tiny environment, we found some perceived control.
Right.
We had all the toilet paper. We were good.
We did, and the cleaning supplies. We were working hard for that. Yes, but I think that really the heart of both of our books, I mean, we are wanting kids to reach beyond that sense of control and to know that they can do hard things at any age and to practice doing those things and how much strength and goodness that develops in kids. And we've got to be doing that ourselves too. We've got to be modeling that ourselves.
What advice did you give to that mom that was being really rigid? I mean, I heard you say connect over correct.
Yes. Well, and I wrote a book. So I know we can talk about the Enneagram. We all love the Enneagram. And she's a 1 on the Enneagram.
Like
and
our dear friend David.
And
Bless
Sissy,
her heart.
both of us.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. And I love to meet with ones because I get it. I get how hard we try, that we try ourselves into the ground and we lose connection when we're doing all of that effort. And so I just kept saying, she needs you. She needs to connect with you. She needs you to be present. She needs you to enjoy her. And the more angry you are at yourself, the more that's going to spill over onto her.
It's choosing relationship over things being right. And that's the opposite of what's ingrained.
Right. Right. And I think to your point, I mean, David and I talk about this all the time. I think it's worse than ever because of social media, because, our parents are different ages, but we didn't have a lot of people. They didn't have a lot of people speaking into their parenting. My mom had Dr. Spock. There it is.
And the Bible.
Yes.
And maybe Aunt Jane or something who would give her 2 cents. I mean,
yes. But now it's all these people speaking into it, and I've got to do all the things that they're all saying. And so I think it's making parents trust their guts less, feel like they can be themselves less, and it's causing there to be disconnect with kids. And so we tell parents often, we want you to stop listening to all the voices. Pick 2. You could pick Don't Mom Alone and somebody else you think is helpful.
Raising Boys and Girls. Yes. Okay, we're good. We got
listening.
the 2.
Right. But it's too much. It's too much pressure.
Yeah. Any thoughts, David, on that you're seeing with boys too? Because
I'm definitely seeing evidence of that high control. And quite honestly, Heather, I think that is the primary presentation of the way anxiety shows up on adult males. I think it's why we miss it with adult males a lot. They don't look like they're navigating a lot of excessive fear and worry, but it's that high control. It's, I've long said you can identify an anxious or depressed man because if he's cut off in traffic on the drive home from work, would lose his mind. Like this disproportionate response over something insignificant. And I think that's the way it can show up on boys from early on, traveling all the way through adult males. And one of the things that Sissy talks about in her writing on anxiety that I love is this understanding that the 2 most convenient traps to step into for us as parents are escape and avoidance. I see my kids struggling some way. I want to just extract them from that circumstance. And the remedy we talk a lot about is support and challenge. I had a parent, I encouraged them to write those words on note cards, like, write escape and avoidance on one, support and challenge on the other. So it's this visual reminder of I'm pulled toward the one, I want to move toward the other. And then thinking practically in the everyday, like, what's a way today with my, however old, middle schooler that I could offer some challenge, and when it's hard, bring support, empathy, understanding to that equation, but not extract them from the hard thing, knowing that something good is growing when I offer support and challenge.
Yeah, I think it is. It's that, how do we not see a happy, content child as an A+ in parenting? Like, yes, it's like so ingrained in us. We don't want them crying. We don't want them hurt. We're trying to avoid social pain. So we're micromanaging in the background. And like you guys have said, I think one of my most viral Instagram videos is David talking about, are we looking in our questions after school? Are we looking for issues? Who did you sit with? Did the coach put you in? Like, our anxiety of making sure everything is okay, in doing that, magnifying the problem, increasing the problem.
Y'all know how time-consuming parenting is. I don't have to tell you. You also know the mental load of wanting to do things well, wanting to take care of your family. And then you add in the financial stress and challenges. Well, one thing that has helped me hold on to some ideals of wanting to keep our groceries and our cleaning products and our skin products more clean, and not wanting to have to pay even more for these quote-unquote healthy items at my local grocery store. So I have given Thrive Market a shot. I've been using them for years, and I'm telling you, it's a total game changer. What's awesome is I get the same high quality brands that I love and that my kids love without compromising my standards, because it's all online and you can easily find what you're looking for with their great filters they use. I also can trust that they've already vetted everything. Everything they sell is non-GMO, and they actually ban over 1,000 ingredients that are still allowed in most U.S. products, like artificial dyes and preservatives and seed oils that I've been trying to avoid. And it's so great. Like I said, they have all these filters. So if you want to do gluten-free, you can search for that, paleo, low sugar, vegan, and you're not having to waste hours reading every label at your traditional grocery store. So you can even stock up on supplements. Like I told y'all, I've been trying to make sure my body is getting what it needs to function well. And best news, the shipping. It's fast, it's carbon neutral, and when you sign up, you get to pick a free gift up to $60 with your first order, which is a fun way to try something new. Like I told you, I will get some of my boys' favorite products like the Chomps beef jerky sticks, or my teens that they love those little Hero Cosmetic Mighty patches for when they get breakouts. Or I just purchased this time around another company. It's RAEL. I don't think you pronounce it real. They have miracle patches with retinol in them. And then I also got the Thrive Market Epsom salt to help some of my boys love taking an Epsom salt bath. There's so many things on this website. I really hope y'all check it out. You can skip all the junk and not overspend. Go to thrivemarket.com/DMA. Get 30% off your first order and a free $60 gift. That's thrivemarket.com/DMA. thrivemarket.com/DMA.
So in these books, you've got these dogs. One's learning courage, one's learning resilience. And you said you mentioned tools. And I'm seeing in my little PDF that they gave me that there are cute dog feelings charts. Nothing like a golden retriever with some expressions on his little I thought golden retrievers only had one emotion. Although I could say when my dog ate my birthday cake yesterday, there was some shame emotion on his face. Anywho, so we've got the feelings chart with the dogs. What other tools, like, how are you modeling this for them? Because we just talked about the parents and our role and making sure we're offering that support. And what was the second word? Support and
challenge.
Challenge. I wanted to say challenge, but then I was like, that can't be right. See, that's how resistant I am to that. Support and challenge. what about for the kids? What are some of the tools for the kids? Or is that's what you're offering in the book?
Heather, I was laughing as you were talking about that. I think there just is something about a retriever emoting that really does want to make me connect more with my feelings. Like I'm more open to the
like more
idea.
Willing.
Yes, and that's certainly Sissy and I's hope that maybe that's some of what would make kids a little more open to having a conversation around these things. And she and I wrote workbooks for kids a couple of years ago. She has an amazing workbook for girls called Braver, Stronger, Smarter. And I have a workbook for boys, Strong and Smart. And we had kind of 6 to 12-year-old kids in mind.
Yeah.
And have loved the feedback we've gotten from parents and kids about how that particular resource has been helpful. But I think these books were our attempt at how could we arm kids even younger than that? Like, how can we get this game started even earlier of learning and connecting some dots and wanting to create these resources for kids and believing that kids probably can learn these things a little better differently in a story about a dog, because it just makes it feel so accessible. And so our great hope is that introducing those tools with parents just feels like we're in the room with you, trying to offer one more thing to get this journey started earlier, to help kids make connections as early as possible, in keeping with everything we know to be true about early intervention and about every category. Like we all know with kids who have speech hurdles, the earlier we press into that, the more we offset down the road. That's really our hope. And then Sissy's got this great tool. Talk about the thermometer in yours.
Well, with girls in my office, older girls, I often will call a thermometer a dramamometer because there just feels like there's so much. And David and I have been talking probably for 8 to 10 years about how we're seeing more kids respond with a 10 on a 1 to 10 scale. But we would also say it's because their experience is a perceived 10.
Yeah.
That everything feels really big. And we're seeing that more post-pandemic, and we're seeing it younger and younger. And so I had a little dog named Lucy who went to work with me every day for 15 years and was just a wonder of a little dog. And she had a lot of fears, which I'm so grateful because God has used them. And I talk about them almost every day with girls who've read Braver, Stronger, Smarter, because they're in that too, because one of her biggest fears was hiccups. And
which feels ridiculous. I'm
oh
laughing.
my goodness.
It feels ridiculous. The dog was afraid of hiccups. Like a person hiccuping or herself hiccuping?
A person.
Okay.
And I didn't know this until the first time it ever happened. And just to give you the full picture of the story, I was meeting with this mother. I'd never met her before. And I was having some stomach issues, which is not convenient when you're a therapist and you have to sit for 50 minutes with the same person. So I'm so sorry. Will you give me just a minute? Running to the bathroom. In the midst of that, somehow I get the hiccups. And Lucy perceives to jump behind this woman, climb up on the back of her chair, and then tries to get on her head. So all I could do by the end of the session is say, I'm sorry, I'm going to refund everything that this session would have cost you. But from that day forward, anytime someone hiccuped, she would try and get behind me and she would shake. She was terrified. And so we use that as a silly explanation of, if you think about a 1 to 10 scale, the scariest thing you can imagine for Lucy, hiccups were a 10, but really they should have been a 2 or a 1. And so
-5. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So let's rate the things that you're worried about. Let's rate the things that make you sad, that make you angry, and help gain perspective as we're doing that, and as we're working through things. And not only do we rate what it feels like, but we can talk about what are healthy coping strategies at each number, even for a 5-year-old. We can take a few deep breaths, and we can that whole, we love grounding techniques like the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. With little ones, you could say, tell me 3 things you see, tell me 3 things you hear. Now wiggle 3 parts of your body. That we're helping them have perspective emotionally, but also use the tools to come back down from whatever number they're hitting.
If y'all don't know the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I was on a walk with my now 13-year-old. He still seems little to me. Anyway, he's had a little anxiety, a little bit of that, but I didn't say, well, because you've had anxiety, we're going to talk about 5. it was like we were walking and I was noticing all the different sounds. And I thought, oh, it's so interesting. And so I just brought up, oh, it's so interesting. I can hear that airplane and I can hear the highway, but then I can also hear, I said, what else do you hear? And he's like, I hear birds and I hear, like, we just did that. And I was like, there's this thing where you talk about what you see. And he and I are trying to brainstorm what they are. Like, well, it must be three things that you feel. And it must be only one that you taste because you can't really taste. Anyway,
Yes.
But it wasn't this like overt teaching thing, but it was great. I loved it. It was so sweet and a good reminder for me. And anywho,
a great reminder for anyone who has teenagers.
Yes.
We got to be a little less direct. Going for a walk, being kind of breezy. That's my favorite word.
Easy breezy, like Monica. Yeah. I'm easy. I'm breezy. So what are the things? It's 5 things you see, 4 things you hear, 3 things you feel.
Tactile, not emotions.
Yeah. With your, like, he said, my feet and my shoes, or something like that. And then what is it? Smell. 2 things you smell, which is interesting because that was harder. And then one is you taste.
But you can do it really in any order.
It takes you out of that fight or flight back into the window of tolerance.
Yes. Grounds you. It like pulls you back to the ground.
Okay. That's good. And you're saying for little kids, keep it to 3 things?
It's easier for them and it's good for them to move.
So what would they be again? Same again, just so people can.
It could be anything. But 3 things you see, 3 things you hear are probably the easiest, and then wiggle 3 parts of your body.
It's easy. Moms, you can try that today. That seems like a good little fun activity. I remember I was in Nashville 2019 with a group of moms, and they were saying, so this was pre-pandemic, they were saying, we're noticing that kids are less resilient because everyone used to say, oh, kids are so resilient. Kids are so resilient. Like that was a flippant, if they walked through parents getting divorced or any kind of trauma, kids are resilient. And they were like, we're seeing that they're not. And then you would think going through a global pandemic, they would become more resilient, but they're not. And that goes, what are we saying? What is the cause of a lack of resilience?
Well, I would say I think there are a lot of factors, but I would argue the escape and avoidance would be at the top of the list for sure. And here's the good news about that. Okay, there are a lot of things that are just outside of our control. That's one I actually have some control over. Like if I'm challenging myself to not stand in the way of opportunities for kids to do hard things, I have some control over that one when there are a lot of things in the world I simply don't. And, you know, Heather, you asked a little bit earlier about something I was seeing unique to boys, and it fits right within this question. I have, in 30 years of doing this work, never seen as many boys working as hard as they are to avoid risk, which I think is foundational in this equation. Like little boys who are really fearful, understandably, and not wanting to and refusing to try out for a sports team or be a part of a new activity. And teenage boys who are refusing to get a part-time job or to get their driver's license. I've never seen as many boys resistant to taking the ACT, applying to college, and it goes on and on and on. And the concern for me in that is every time they close a door, we help them close a door. You know, we talk about a good short definition of resilience could be the capacity to cope and feel competent. And every time I close a door or someone closes a door for me, I feel less capable, less competent, and I develop fewer coping skills. So it's like no one's winning, everyone's losing. And, you know, I think purpose is something so hardwired into the hearts of boys. And I think they're experiencing less purpose and avoiding risk as well. So it's like all these foundational things that I think are a part of what allow us to feel like we can step into who God's called us to be aren't happening in ways that I just think it explains a lot of the scary statistics we're seeing out there with males, young adult males and adult males in this world. So it's again where I could feel like I'm drowning in that data and how discouraging and despairing it feels. Or I get really excited when I think about, okay, well, these are tools that can help us start on the front side. And let's learn from this dog who was super scared to do a lot of things and moving toward escape and avoidance on his own in all moments. I mean, I laugh about he was an 80-pound dog, and I had to carry him into rooms sometimes. And so it's like, because he would just back up rather than moving forward. And I think that temptation is great in all of us in some way, that I just want to back up and never move forward. So what does it look like? Again, back to support and challenge to create those move forward opportunities.
Well, and it's so interesting for you to say that about these younger boys, because mine were like so cray cray when they were little. And I would blame like social media or phones or like video games of this safe place that they can retreat to and take less risk. But it's interesting that you're seeing it even in like younger kids. So if you're that parent of younger kids, this is a good reminder of doing the hard thing. And what would you say to the one who, like, they tried soccer, they went to one game and they want to quit? What do we do with the wanting to quit?
I would say I think that temptation is strong in a lot of kids. And unless there's some warranted evidence of this coach is a little off the rails for kids this young, those sorts of things, there's legitimate harm in some way that warrants pulling out early. I think it's really great for kids to press through hard seasons when they're developing skills. And in a lot of ways, even back to our conversation about the pandemic, I've lost count with how many parents I've had conversations with, Sissy. I likely suspect you have too, who've said, we were out of the habit of going to church, and dropping off at Sunday school feels overwhelming to him or her. And so we just kind of stopped. We tried it 2 or 3 times. It was so overwhelming. And I want to challenge those parents. Let's get back in the saddle and practice that. Drop off is great. Kids staying home with a babysitter while parents go on a date is awesome. Like, navigating the discomfort of all those moments is where these good things are built.
Kids learn that they're capable by experience.
Yes.
And even the experience of, I wanted to quit, I pushed through, and
Yes.
Yeah, I'm thinking of all the examples in my home. But the thing that I struggle with is getting a 6'5" teen. I mean, tried football one day, and then it's like time to get up at 6:30. I can't physically make a 6'5" person do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And getting buy-in and getting engagement. I mean, someone sent me the book, The Disengaged Teen.
Mm.
And I was like, and it's thick, y'all. I'm holding my fingers up. It's like 500 pages. If they could write a book that thick on a topic, then I'm like, yeah, I see that. It's not just our family.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that whole concept, of how do you, he watched his brothers do hurdles on Saturday. He said, that looks kind of fun. And then a friend was with us and she goes, oh, are you going to try? And he goes, no, I don't want to be stuck on a team. Okay. Well, there it is. Loss of control, loss of, freedom. Yeah, this is real stuff.
I keep talking about this because I can't stop. I chose Function because it is the best in the world for testing and for keeping track of my health. It's an all-in-one health platform with over 100 advanced lab tests covering your entire body, 5 times more than the average physical will. Comprehensive and focused on critical biomarkers. It offers testing twice a year, and it's available all across the United States, and it's super easy to use. It's recommended by Dr. Mark Hyman, Dr. Andrew Huberman, Dr. Hasey Means, hundreds of other health experts. And kicking off the summer, Function is sharing their Long Live campaign. Long Live is a celebration of the everyday moments that make life worth staying healthy for. For me, this means long live early morning quiet times, and long live cuddles on the couch with my kids, and long live laughing alongside my friends. I am so prompted by watching my parents walk through their health journeys and even close friends to really be aware of what's going on in my body and take control of my health. So, in the spirit of long live and taking control of your health, get a $100 credit towards your annual membership if you go to www.functionhealth.com/DMA. This is a $100 credit for only the first 1,000 listeners. So listen closely. Sign up at functionhealth.com/DMA to get that $100 credit if you're one of the first 1,000 listeners. Moms, I don't know about you, but as we head into summer, yes, it will come eventually. One thing I love is how everything drops down a notch, including, to me, makeup. I feel like there's no longer I'm having to get all dolled up for events. I can chill out a little bit, and I'm even more thankful for the amazing products I have through Thrive Cosmetics, whether it's the Infinity Waterproof Eyeliner, which is smudge-proof all day, or the amazing Brilliant Eye Brightener eyeshadow highlighter sticks that I can use really quickly to add some shadow onto my eyes. Or you all know my absolute fave, the Liquid Lash Extensions Mascara, which I'll talk about in a second. But all of these products are so great because Thrive Cosmetics makes them certified 100% vegan and cruelty free. And skin loving and clean and high performing, they work so well. And Thrive Cosmetics gives back. For every product purchase, they donate products and funds to help communities thrive, which is so great that something I love not only works really well, is clean, and makes communities better that are struggling. So I love this Liquid Lash Extensions Mascara. It has over 40,000 5-star reviews. They have 5 different shades, depending on what you want. It looks like lash extensions, but I don't have to pay the salon prices or worry about damaging glue, and it's super easy to remove. It just slides right off with warm water and a washcloth, no soap, and it also has ingredients in it that support my lashes to grow longer and stronger and healthier over time. It's that tubing formula, flake-free tubing formula, that basically creates a tube around each lash from the root to the tip. It's awesome. If you've never done a tubing mascara this summer, give it a shot. You will love it. So try some of your new trusty favorites with an exclusive set just for our listeners. New customers can get the Liquid Lash Extensions Mascara and a mini size Brilliant Eye Brightener at a special set price with free shipping. So you just go to thrivecosmetics.com/DMA. If you've never tried it, this is your chance. Or save more with 20% off your first order at thrivecosmetics.com/DMA. That's Thrive Cosmetics, CAUSEMETICS.com/DMA for 20% off your first order. Okay, are you ready for the lightning round?
Ready.
Sure.
Okay, and these are not short. Best way to help an introverted kid with friendship and help a kid who tends to be pessimistic. That sounds like 2 different kids.
Uh-huh.
It sounds like the bigger question is, how do we help our kids do things they don't want to do?
Well, I might have different answers to all 3 of those. David, I don't know if there's one specifically. I think with friends, I think always helping kids expand their sight. I feel like kids can get locked in on the 1 or 2 ones that they really want to be connected to. And so helping them see that there are more options out there. And I think with girls, I went to a continuing education seminar forever ago that it was really great, and it talked about a couple different things. One is, how do we think about friendship ingredients? Like, what are the things that you really want in a friend? And not only how can you look for those, but how can you be those? And also they did this bullseye of friendships, and best friends were in the middle, and then acquaintances, friends, and then acquaintances. And they talked about how girls often put best friend expectations on acquaintances. And so I think even that, helping kids have a good basic understanding of, this is what a friendship looks like. This is what we expect out of a friend. Now you tell me 3 friends you want to reach out to in the next month, and how can I help support that? Just giving them opportunities to push, and not, do you want to reach out, but pick 3 friends.
Yeah.
And how can I help support that?
I had a thought on the introverted kid. There's a amazing book that was written years ago called Quiet by Susan Cain. And she went back and wrote a book for kids called Quiet Power, which Sissy and I love and would highly recommend. I think it's a great book for introverted kids to read, to understand more about, the fact that they have this really deep, rich interior life. Like, that's one of their superpowers. But moving outward, whether it's moving outward emotionally, talking about how I feel, or moving out relationally to everything Sissy's speaking to is a greater challenge. And I had a boy years ago whose mom was super extroverted. He was really introverted. And he kept saying to her, which made sense to me, like, you just want me to be more extroverted. And I love the way she responded and saying, you know what, I get that it would feel that way because that's how I operate in the world, but I don't want you to be more extroverted. I want you to feel more confident in who you are being out in the world. And I think that's the target we want to try to hit with introverted kids. And I think Quiet Power could be a good resource to help there.
Yeah. Recognizing how they do friendship is going to look different.
Yeah.
1 to 2 really solid friends versus every weekend at a different party. Yeah. How do you handle the boredom that sets in around 5th and 6th grade? I didn't know this was a thing. Have you seen that?
I don't know that I have pinpointed that, but I could certainly see that.
Yeah.
And my response would be, great. Allow that, because boredom produces a lot of creativity. And so when they come to you bored, wow, I bet you could come up with some really amazing things to do and then get away from them.
Because are you seeing parents, because of the Anxious Generation book and all of that, are they postponing giving phones? Because 5th and 6th grade, it used to be kids got phones, like with my oldest. But I'm thinking now they're not. They're waiting till 8th or 9th.
They're fighting the good fight. They're trying.
Yeah.
So I could see, like, okay, you're not quite yet fighting they want to scroll on their phone all day, but they're not little and like endlessly curious.
And we care. You know, if I was bored, my parents could have cared less, so I had to figure it out. And now this sweet mom is worried about her kids being bored.
Yes.
We're not comfortable with their discomfort.
Yes.
This is the key.
That is so true. That is so incredibly true.
And we have to create like a whole activity sheet of how to keep them engaged. Yeah. So no, just let them be bored. That's it. That's all you got.
That's all I got.
It's good. I love it. How to teach your kid to be a good loser. 6-year-old who does not handle when she doesn't win. I love that it's a she.
Me too.
Yeah. Because we make assumptions. Only boys are competitive.
Well, I would just say I see a lot of boys who struggle in that space. And I think, interestingly enough, that becomes fertile ground for boys building some significant emotional muscles, because I think it can be the space where the most emotion surfaces. So I love it. And is where, even back to challenge, I would challenge parents. You know, I think one of the other patterns we have all observed is, you know, stacking teams. And I only want them on a team where there's going to be a lot of success. And it's like, what good stuff happens in the losses.
Loses. This is what I don't understand. Why we're all so shocked that our team doesn't win.
Yes.
It was so good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, yeah. Okay. So us getting comfortable with the loss.
Yes.
And let's say we are, what are some words you could use with a 6-year-old when they're like so emotionally, maybe anger comes out, maybe pain, maybe sadness. I don't know what the not handle it well is for her, but.
Well, I might have had a conversation like that last week with a 6-year-old that I love a lot. And I think at the root, it was more about his own failure. And I wonder for this little girl if it's the same. And so I think leaning into, we all mess up. And I would say even fail in front of your kids, lose in front of your kids, talk about a time that you did. Because at 6, you're their heroes. And so if they know that you do too, they're going to be able to accept that on themselves so much more. David, you were about to say something and I jumped in.
No, I love that you gave a real life example of a 6-year-old we both know and love. I love it. And I think the only other thought I had to that is, Heather, we just talk a lot about, you know, and this is so foundational to these 2 books, helping kids name and navigate emotions. Like, how could we be thinking about those objectives all throughout? And I think the naming is the how do you feel? What was that like for you? But I think the navigating is what helps. Losing is hard. What helps? Today's loss was tough. What do you want to do with that? That I think helps kids think about what helps me take the emotion to something constructive.
Because maybe if it's basketball, let's go shoot some more hoops.
Yes.
Improve that free throw.
Yes. Maybe it's go in the backyard and pet the dog, but figuring out what are the things that help me when I'm experiencing the discomfort, not ignore it, not pretend like it's not there, not wait on my mom to take it away, but maneuver my way through it.
It's really good. Name it, navigate it. That's all y'all take away from today. Last really easy breezy. How to understand and work well with your strong-willed child. You got a minute. No.
I love the idea of understanding. I think that's a key to working through that question. And I would say with a strong-willed child, one of the most foundational ideas is choosing your battles. As simple and as old school as that is, I think sometimes they get strong and we feel like we have to get stronger, and then we're playing that game where it just becomes all about power. And so as much as we can, and I talked again yesterday with parents about this very thing, like, what can you let go of with your child who you're fighting right now on everything? Because if you're fighting them on everything, they're hearing you on nothing. And so what can you pick to let go of? Because it's like they say with toddlers, say yes as much as you can so that your no's count. So how can we figure out how to do that?
And is some of that strong will, that feeling out of control again? Is it a little bit of like a not liking the discomfort of being out of control? That was helpful. Like with the understanding, that was helpful for me, for my one who we found out later was in fight or flight a lot. Some of that strong will was just these really firm boundaries of the anxiety of like, if I let you be in charge of this decision, I don't know what that scenario is going to look like. So I'm just not going. I'm not doing. I'm just like hard walls.
No. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So some compassion for that. Yeah.
Well, interestingly enough, you read my mind, Heather. We talk so much about how all behavior is communication of some kind. So I think that's worth exploration. Like, is there something driving that need for high control? And I think often with a lot of kids in this space, there is at some degree of an undercurrent of anxiety that's there, that if we could settle some of that, there's, if I feel less out of control internally, there's less a need to try to control everything and everyone around me externally. And so if we can attend to some of that and help kids build some skills in that space, it often will offset at least a percentage of that.
And I'll give a little hope. One of mine who was quote unquote strong-willed, hard to lead leaders, I'll just say, is an excellent high schooler, very good at leading himself. I mean, we used to put him in charge of our family trips. We'd say, okay, here's a list of things we want to do on this family trip. Will you plan the trip? And he totally would, because he just wanted to be in charge of the order, and we're wanting to know. And I don't have to worry a thing about his homework or anything. It's great, but
it's awesome.
The gift gone awry, when they're little, it's tricky. Yeah. Y'all are a delight. Both of these new books are adorable, and I hope they go far and wide, and more people learn how to name and navigate emotions with their kids. Owen is the little golden retriever, and Lucy is is it Havanese?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So cute. And y'all are even animated in it. So
how about that?
That's a delight as well. Thanks for joining me, and just Heather, blessings over all the things you're doing and all the people you're helping. I think one of my listeners actually has a call with David today. She let me know in a comment.
That's so fun.
That's very cool to see all the full circle and you helping so many families just navigate the challenges and the joys of parenting. So thanks, y'all.
Well, you too, friend. Thank you so much.
Always good medicine to be with you. Always.
Love it.
Yes.
Love it.
Okay, I know that was kind of like all over the place, but at the same time, so many good nuggets in there, whether it's considering how rigid we are as moms, where we could maybe let go of some control, where we could allow kids to take risk and experience things, how we may be overwhelmed with all the different voices, including mine right now, telling you how to parent. And so I just encourage you to sit with God and ask him where you stand on those things, and let him inform you on what needs to maybe shift in your home, and where maybe you're like, oh, actually, I'm doing well and I can relax and stop adding more stress to my mothering. So let's pray over that. Lord, I know you've entrusted us with this role, and yet also we know that you are God. And so, Lord, I pray that you would guide each of us in our own unique journeys with our kids, that we would let go of control where we need to, where we would instill resilience by allowing our kids to take some risks that we might be fearful of. And Lord, just give us wisdom on how to encourage, especially teen boys for me, to try new things, hard things, and put themselves out there, Lord. I pray ultimately for your kingdom to come and for these young people to be empowered followers of you so that they can bring you to different places around the world in the different jobs and relationships that you will direct them to, and that we can help guide them in listening to your voice first and foremost. And thank you for David and Sissy and all that they're doing right now, Lord. I just see that their lives are busy and full, and I just pray you would give them the unique strength to continue the work you've placed before them. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, thanks y'all for joining me. Meet you back here next week. Bye.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Don't Mom Alone podcast. If you're wanting to connect with more people and more resources to help remind you that you're not alone, head over to don'tmomalone.com. That's where you'll also find show notes with any links mentioned by our guests. Most importantly, I want you to know the good news, the great news that you're not alone because God has promised to always be with you. With faith in Jesus Christ, the one who died for you and rose again, Jesus said when he left, he was going to leave a helper, a comforter, to be with us. God in us. Moms, that's superpower. So while you're washing dishes at your kitchen sink, while you're driving to and from work, while you're feeding that baby late into the night, while you're cleaning sticky floors, God promises to be just as present with you as when you're worshiping in a church pew. As it says in Zephaniah 3:17, the Lord your God is with you. He is mighty to save. He takes great delight in you. He will quiet you with his love, and he will rejoice over you with singing. Now that's good news. Have a great day.